This is Patrick Christie's Tonight. I'm only on GB News. No nonsense Anne Widdecombe is waiting in the wings. But first, we tackle the migrant crisis with Parliamentary Private Secretary to the Home Secretary, James Sunderland MP. And the Prime Minister suffered a double blow today. So first, the President of the ECHR claimed that the government's Rwanda plan is unlawful. Then, the UN's High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, also stuck his boot into our Stop the Boats policy, accusing the UK of abdicating their responsibilities. So here's Mr Grandi speaking to the BBC earlier today.
Let's build a wall or stop the boats, you mean?
Exactly. Those are fake responses that don't address even the problem of arrivals. Yeah, it is true that there is pressure from electorates, but that pressure is largely induced by politicians that are fueling it and manipulating it, often through a whole set of fake news to gain votes.
Oh my gosh. Listening to that, it's no surprise that former Home Secretary Suella Braverman was practically begging the UN, begging that guy, to change the definition of what a refugee is in Washington last year.
Where individuals are being persecuted, it is right that we offer sanctuary. But we will not be able to sustain an asylum system if, in effect, simply being gay or a woman or fearful of discrimination in your country of origin is sufficient to qualify for protection.
It is seriously worth remembering, in light of that chump's comments, OK, that Suella Braverman stood there and said to the world, unless we change what the definition of a refugee is, simply saying that you're gay or being a woman or fearing any kind of persecution or coming, frankly, from a poorer country to a wealthier country is basically all that you need to qualify as a refugee. That's what needs to be changed. And alas, here we are. Mr Sunderland, welcome to the show. Britain's borders continue to be breached. The UN are basically telling us to get on with it. What do you make of what that guy said? I mean, here's the problem, isn't it? Do we just have to accept record levels of illegal immigration now?
No, it's complete nonsense. I mean, 2 points for you, first of all. Firstly, Rwanda currently, as of September last year, had 130,000 refugees, displaced personnel there. So it's clearly good enough for the UN, it's good enough for us, and it's a great country. I have been there. The second thing, of course, is the fact that this notion that the UK is somehow responsible for the world's migrants is absolute tosh. We have a problem right now with small boats coming across. We've got a problem with people, mainly migrants. These are not asylum seekers, they're not refugees. They're mainly economic migrants coming to the UK for a better life. Who would blame them? But my point is this. Can't absorb the numbers that we're seeing at the moment, and it's absolutely right that the British government is focused on stopping the boats.
What Filippo was saying there was that, you know, oh, look, this is all just political pressure. Nothing's actually, being done about this, and nor should we do anything about it. Suella Braverman stood up and made the point that unless we change the law and the definition of what it meant to be a refugee, frankly, pretty much anyone from anywhere can move anywhere else, and there's very little we can do about it. The United Nations take the polar opposite view to that. I mean, as long as they've got any say in this matter, we're knackered, aren't we?
Well, the United Nations, of course, depends upon countries like the UK taking their fair share of displaced persons. But that's not necessarily what should be happening. So, for example, there are known to be millions of people on the move right now across Africa, across the rest of the world. And we are seeing a significant problem in Europe. So What's interesting is that European countries within the European Union are looking right now at the UK, at what the UK is doing in law, and trying to copy it. And we are seeing a shift right across Europe towards right-wing governments because the problem has to be dealt with.
So the fact is that the response to what's going on at the southern border in America, which is, by the way, absolutely insane, the level of illegal immigration that they've got over there, the response to unbelievable volumes of illegal immigration right through Europe and into Britain. From the United Nations, their response to that, as far as I can tell, is to now more or less openly say that they don't believe in borders. Is the UN fit for purpose?
In that respect, no, not at all. But borders have to matter. Borders have to be maintained. We've got to maintain security of our borders. We've got no idea who these people are coming across. And it's absolutely right that in 2019, as part of the Brexit decision, we undertook to secure our borders. That is absolutely what the Conservative government's going to do. Look at Labour. Without getting too political, Labour have voted against every single measure to curb illegal migration. Every single one. Labour wants open borders. Fact. If Keir Starmer has his way, we'll go back into the European Union agreement whereby we'd be legally obliged to take over 100,000 migrants every year. It can't happen. It must not happen. We have undertaken to secure our borders, to stop the small boats. That is exactly what the Prime Minister is going to do.
Look, Keir Starmer obviously will absolutely categorically deny that he wants open borders. The Labour Party have denied that on numerous occasions. I just wonder if there's an even bigger problem here behind the scenes. You've got the United Nations there, which essentially I think sees itself wrongly, in my view, as the charitable arm to the world. The idea that the good thing to do for the sake of charity, reinforced, by the way, I think by the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, reinforced by what we're seeing at the ECHR, reinforced by a huge number of different aid groups and so-called worthy charities, is that people should just be allowed to travel legally or illegally anywhere they like around the world. You know, do we have a problem behind the scenes here a bit as well with some of these charities, with some of these so-called aid organisations?
Yeah, I mean, the simple answer is yes. I mean, it cannot be the case that the UK is responsible for the world's migrants. No Western country can do that. The pressure on services at the moment is already acute. The very same people that phone me and say, oh, we must have open borders, and the same people that say they can't get an appointment at a surgery. I don't want to demonise the problem, but my point is that actually we cannot absorb the numbers that are currently on the move. I have every sympathy with people wanting a better life. I've served myself for 26 years in the army. I've been to many, many countries across the world that really aren't fit for purpose. What we have in the UK is absolutely fantastic. We've got problems, yes, we have, but actually the offer's brilliant. But the point I'm making is that we cannot be beholden across Western countries to absorb the numbers that we're talking about.
How does this pan out? How does this pan out for you personally now, then, right? Because you're saying all the right things to a lot of our viewers and our listeners here. But with respect, James, we just played a clip of a former Home Secretary there who stood up and said things that I think you agree with, right, that are correct. We have a current Home Secretary who seems a lot more reluctant to do things like get us out of the ECHR, has supposedly called the Rwanda plan batshit. I mean, he denies that, but, you know, supposedly has said that. You know, how do you work under that bloke, James Cleverly, now, if he's not doing the right things or saying what's necessary? We've established that it's necessary to do certain things. It doesn't look like he wants to do that.
I work for both Suella and for James. I was their PPS and I am James' PPS now. Different people, different styles. I mean, neither are wrong in what they say, but of course the approach is different. And what I would say at the moment is that the position the British government's taken is not a reflection of Suella Braverman, or it's not a reflection of James Cleverly. It's a reflection of what the Prime Minister is able to do. And what I mean by that is this. Where he's put the marker in the sand is absolutely clear. This is what the Rwandan government will tolerate at the moment. We've gone as far to the right as we can. The other thing is the Rwanda Bill that's just gone through the House of Commons is the most right-leaning, draconian, if that's the right word, fierce, bold, ambitious legislation in this field ever. It disapplies Section 1, 2, 3, 5, and so on of the Human Rights Act. But what the Prime Minister is not going to do right now is effectively fail the centrists and the left wing of the party by leaving the European Court for Human Rights, and that's the right thing to do.
All right, look, James, thank you very much for your time this evening. Always a pleasure. It's James Sunderland, MP there. I know plenty of you will agree with that. I know plenty of you will not agree with it. Get your views coming in, gbviews@gbnews.com.